Hi, my name is Megan, and I'm singing in my falsetto. Yeah, that's your falsetto.
Snaps.
If I were to do that in my chest voice, hey, my name is Megan, and I'm singing in my chest voice.
This is the Behind the Sound podcast where we talk to producers, engineers, artists, and other creatives alike. Hosted by Sean Gray and Manic.
Welcome, Megan.
Hello.
Introduce yourself for the people that don't know who you are.
Okay.
What you do.
Yo, what up, what up, what up? It's Megan Massey. I'm here in the house.
Yeah, what?
I'm in the podcast Behind the Sound with your boys. And we're about to drop the noise.
That was dope.
I think that was the best intro we've had
Oh,
yet.
the most
100%.
awkward intro you've
No,
ever
no,
heard in your life.
the best intro we've had so far. 100%.
It's your girl, Megan Massey. You know,
Yeah.
that like 90s much music, everyone said.
So tell us like what she do and who you are, a little bit about
Wow,
yourself.
those are
Yeah.
massive questions. How am I going to answer these? Okay,
Yeah, 'cause we
we'll
know
keep it
you're-
short. Okay,
Yeah,
so
we'll
for
dive
those of
into
you
it.
who don't know me, which is everybody listening, because I'm not that famous yet.
Yet.
Keyword.
I am a singer and songwriter. I'm an artist. I currently live in Toronto, and I'm currently in the middle of a project, in the beginnings of a project where I am releasing a song every single week, accompanied by a vlog that I am producing. Hence this camera that I'm not actually. I forgot to press record, so I'm gonna go ahead and press record.
Yeah, do your thing.
We call this the Megan Special. If you watch my vlog, you will watch me forget to press record. And the question is, how do you watch someone forget to press record? Because inevitably,
You should always just... It should
just always be recording.
Just always
yeah.
recording.
Yeah, ABR, ABF, always be filming. Always bring your camera. Did that answer the question, or did I just make it? Did I just take it off on
that
a
was
total
perfect.
tangent?
We're gonna
Yeah.
dive into more stuff anyways. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Perfect.
that's me basically in a nutshell.
What's your project about?
It's only the only requirement is that I release a song every week.
Oh, so
That's the whole requirement.
And how long are you doing this for?
I'm going to do it for a year.
Okay. And
That's the time frame.
so 52 songs.
So 52 songs in a
Okay.
year.
Oh wow.
Every Saturday we drop.
Okay.
So do you have like the songs like recorded already, or are you kind of like recording it that week
So-
and then dropping it?
We are recording them mostly every week. So we get in the studio every week, write a new song and put it out. Now, I'm not insane. I do have a catalog that I can fall back on
Yeah.
in the event that for whatever reason life happens. You know, we aren't able to finish the song. In fact, that is what happened in my next episode. So watch episode 6 to see me have a meltdown. So we pull from the catalog when we need to, but the goal is to not do that as much as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, because the thing about creativity, like what we're trying to do here when we're in the studio is we're trying to create something when there was nothing there before.
Exactly.
Right? And so in order to do that, creativity realistically lives at the apex of serotonin and dopamine. So really positive, releases, really positive energies, really good feelings. And that's where creativity is in its best space, in its highest form. And so what you need for that is good vibes, without dressing it up too much, but you need good feelings, good vibrations, and good energy for you to be able to get into a space where you make the most of your serotonin and your dopamine levels.
Yeah.
The worst thing for that is cortisol, so stress. So if you're stress is like just a number one killer of creativity. So if you're in a room and someone is
Stressing you out.
you out, the session is over. Get out.
Yeah.
So that's why I just go 100% for energy. I'm looking for someone that is on the same frequency.
Yeah.
It also reflects in your music, because I was listening to like your music and whatnot, and like it really reflects that's the environment that you need in the session, because like your music is very like happy and like uplifting.
Yeah.
And like very like high energy, like brain. Like
Mostly, yes.
You can't really listen and really be sad per se. You know what I
Not the
mean?
stuff that honestly, I don't know if I have any songs that are like that. I think that's that is a reflection of a number of things, for sure. One just being like the kind of person I am, my life experiences. I'm, sad is not like, I don't like that feeling personally. Exactly. I don't do well as in sad. Sad is like the most vulnerable state. And I'm like, I have a hard time with that. So even if I am sad, my release for sad is not making music. So you might not really ever hear me make a song that's sad. Okay, no, that's not true. Once or twice I've written a sad song, but
you got to get them out.
If some shit goes down, like something happens, then you make a sad song. But yeah, I think from my life experiences are mostly, I like happy and exciting and energetic stuff. And so that's typically what I write. And yeah, when I'm in a good creative space, I tend to go in that direction. That tends to be how inspiration comes to me, how I'm drawn into that. And so when I'm writing, choosing a producer, someone who's like comfortable with that space is super important, and someone who's on that same frequency for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
What influenced you to create more the happy energy type of music that you do?
Yeah, I'm not going to say like, okay, sad is like one thing, right? Sad is like a whole other feeling, right? Like for me, I just tend not to be actually inspired by those tones of music. So when you're like playing, obviously music is one of those things that we can all, without knowing, we all relate to, we all can understand the feeling. That's why you watch a ballet, there's no talking, it's just music, but you know what's going on because the music is guiding you through the emotional experience of what the characters are going through.
Right.
And that's one of the most amazing things about music, is that it's something we all understand inherently. And so those tones, those sad tones, I don't hear melodies to. So it's kind of just not even a choice. Like I don't like hear anything. It's just like when someone else's other people do, obviously, some people are the exact opposite me from an artist perspective. And when they hear happy poppy, major chords and stuff like that, they hear nothing.
Yeah.
And that's why I make happier, brighter sounding music. Cause when I hear it, I have melodies in my head.
I feel like those sad, quote unquote, sad chord progressions and those melodies, like that language just doesn't speak to you.
So, no, not as much. I don't have stories to tell in that space. I don't have heartbreak stories to tell. I don't I have, I've had one or two experiences in my life where I'm like, okay, I need to write this song. And because it's like, I need this, catharsis, right? Like I need to get this out, for sure. But for the most part, that's just not the language. That is not the language of music that
you want to,
that I speak, that I speak. And it's not that I don't like those songs. I do. I actually love it. I just am not inspired by it.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's just does not speak to the creative side in me as much. And if it does, then that's like weird. Like I'm in like a weird space,
Interesting.
Angry feelings do. And this is an interesting, or maybe not, I don't know, but angry or aggressive things do. So like sometimes I'm in a space where I like this dark music. I don't want happy music for sure. And that's because angry, like the feeling of anger is pretty much just sadness wearing a mask.
Exactly.
But it's the strong version of sad, right? So it's the way of not addressing your sadness is through being angry. And me, that's my like crutch. Like that's something I do as a person in terms of like from an emotional, like how I exist emotionally. Sadness always shows up for me as anger because I'm powerful in my anger, but I'm not powerful in my sadness. And as one of my things is like, I need to be in control and I need to have power.
Yeah,
I need to be
that.
powerful and I need to be strong all the time. And so I just bury the sadness under a pile of anger and I write an angry song instead.
Wow.
It's kind of like an internal.
There's so much to unpack.
So much to unpack there. I brought my biggest suitcase, guys.
But
you ready?
I love it.
It's kind of like an internal like defense mechanism. Like
absolutely, 100%.
Of like your like your brain, I guess, or like your
100%,
emotions. And it's like,
100%. Like,
no, I get that completely.
yeah. And so that's just how it happens to be mine, you know? And it's like, I'm not alone in that. I know a lot of people that do that as well. And so it just like, I don't know. That's just how it comes out in my art, right? Like, cause that's how it comes out in my feelings. Like I just go right there. I'm like, nope.
Do you find that like when you do hit those times where you do feel sad, like it hits you really hard?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's like a full meltdown.
Yeah.
Like if I'm like, cause the thing is I put it off for so long, right? I was like, no, I'm going to be angry for 4 days instead of just being like, okay, just be sad. Just accept that this anger is actually sadness and deal with the sadness and then move on. Yeah. And it's like I've put it off for so long, just dealing with it, that I think it's a much lower low because of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, it's emotions are a funny thing, but they're a huge part of art. They're a huge part of, they are art, actually.
The whole translation.
It's the whole thing of art is essentially, emotions. So I think it's, as an artist, it's important, or maybe it's important not to. It depends on how your art is. Like some artists are just so incredible at, releasing their emotions through their art that if they gained an awareness, they may lose that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like their music is their diary.
Right.
It is their journal. It's their whatever. It's their release. And they can't necessarily express themselves through words. So they do it in song and music and film and whatever.
Yeah.
And so I wonder what would happen to those people if they all of a sudden became completely aware of all their emotions. Like, would they lose that sort of, that like beautiful, the way that they describe it? Because they're not describing it from a place of like consciousness and being cerebral about it. They're describing it from a place of deep inner, like
understanding,
like raw feeling that just comes out. And so I kind of wonder what would happen in that situation if someone who used their art that way. Like, I wonder.
I think there's kind of like two ways it can kind of go about it. It could either like still be like effective in the way they actually like go about making their music. It just depends on, because like during those times they're being as authentic to themselves as they are, right? So it's like if, for example, they start to come to that realization about like their emotions and whatnot, and they start to be aware of things, their music kind of like has to go about that shift.
Yeah.
And it has to kind of like take the listeners that have been listening to the old stuff through that journey in the sense of like, and you may lose some fans that only wanted that or wanted that from before, but you'll know that the people that stick with you through the transitional phase are the people that like are really there for you.
Yeah, that or even, those people would be the ones that like are there for the growth period. Anyway, exactly. It's interesting. It's interesting for me because that's not how I am. Like, I am not that type of artist. So I see that in other people, and even in my experience working with other producers and people, I have been told that I need to be more vulnerable as an artist, and I need to find a way to be more. Essentially, what I was being told was I need to be less cerebral and less conscious of my like emotions, and I need to be because they felt like I was unable to communicate my feelings in a way that was sort of in like desperate, I guess. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it was like this feeling that because I always know what I'm feeling at all times. Like even when I'm angry and I know I'm actually sad, I know that. I'm just choosing anger. I woke up today and chose violence. Like, that's me. I'm choosing anger because I'm not ready to be sad right now. And I'm okay with that, you know? And, but I'm completely conscious of it. I'm completely aware. I totally know all of my feelings when if I'm upset about something, if I'm frustrated, if I'm angry or sad or whatever, hurt by a person, I know the third level down of why it's making me upset. I know what I did to cause I know all of that. So I think for that reason, it's like I've had producers think that because I'm so aware, I can't untangle the web through art because it's already untangled. And that's what they, so, I've been, that was what I had been told, and I've just chose to say, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway.
I think in those situations, it's kind of like you did exactly what you should do, because it's like as much as people can have advice in this industry that has no rules, people will give advice based off of how they feel.
Exactly.
And it's like
Yeah.
if you know yourself as an artist, or you even just as a person, like beyond just music, if you know yourself as a person and like a person advises you on something that goes like outside of like who you are or like what it is that you do or know you're best at, it's like you take it with a grain of salt.
Absolutely.
Because like obviously they give the advice depending on who it is. They give the advice based off of like hopefully it's good intent, but it's like if you know the type of person that you are in that situation, it's like no, for yourself, like you explain how like you know and you're aware of your emotions and like you feel like you don't need to actually go towards that change. It's like just be true to yourself.
Yeah. And like what am I going to do anyway?
That.
Like what other choice do I have? Be like, okay, I'll regress and not be aware of like how I feel. Like, sorry, I don't have an option.
I think what you should do, and like I preach this, is like do what makes you should always be doing what makes you most creative. Have you ever heard of the saying, it's called practicing opposite emotions?
No.
I've never heard of that either.
Okay, so let's say you're sad, right? The objective is to practice the opposite emotion of what you're feeling. So you're conscious of, okay, I'm sad. Now I'm going to practice the opposite emotion. It's generally, okay, happy, sad. Taking a negative emotion that you're currently living in and, you know,
just choosing the opposite,
and then vice versa, because it allows you to gain a new perspective on that emotion while you're in a different state.
Interesting.
So doing things, let's say, okay, I'm happy. Now I'm going to go write, intentionally go write a sad song.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because it was a great coping mechanism. And I wonder what that would be like if you brought that to the studio. I'm not saying
for sure. I think like lyrically and stuff, it's not that I can't write sad songs. It's just that it's not what inspires me most. So if I'm let's say I was working with another artist and they wanted to write a sad song because that's their brand, I can absolutely like do that and help them like through that to write a sad song. But and like I said, I have written them. It's just like the sounds don't inspire me. But I think that it's still a good opportunity. Like what you're describing is just, and this is the beauty of this project, right? Because I have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
I have not solidified anything. I'm not in a box as an artist. I am not, and you know, there are negatives, there are drawbacks to this, but I can do that. I can go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give myself a limitation in order to see what comes of that limitation creatively. And this, like describing what you're saying. So I could potentially go into the studio and say, we're writing a sad song today. Give me sad chords. And I have no choice. Today we're writing a sad song. And that's it. I have no choice but to write a sad song and see what comes out of that limitation. And I actually do that a lot. I put limitations, but it's an interesting, I learned it. I went to an art school in high school. I was in the dance program, and I very distinctly remember this one exercise that we did where the teacher gave us this, like, I think it was like a piece of paper. It was like a piece of paper. And you had to dance and like choreograph or just like freestyle, but you had to be touching the paper at all times. And so what that meant, because it's a flimsy piece of paper, you weren't allowed to hold it, but you had to be like touching it. What that meant was you were forced to do different and new movements that you wouldn't normally do, because you had to be basically pressing your hand either into the floor or into your body, or like in order to keep, because the paper had to stay touching you. So you had to be physically pushing it because it had no weight to it. You had to like be holding it against your body. So now you can't do any of the conventional, say, movements that you might have learned in your jazz class, your hip hop class, your ballet class. Now you have to rely on just strictly movement
and improvisation
and improvising.
Yeah.
And because it is real true improvising at that point, because you no longer can fall back. Because what happens when you improvise, often you fall back on movements that you're comfortable with, or old habits that you're comfortable with. Vocally, you would fall back on runs that you know. But if you were to say, okay, you're not allowed to do any runs, go. and you're a run singer, oh my God, like what's
fucked.
gonna happen?
You're like,
Like, yeah, but like what can the possibilities of what can come of that? You could potentially open a whole new door. And that's exactly, I think, what maybe part of what would happen in that sort of situation and what you're describing, where it's like, okay, what would come of writing a happy or a sad song from a happy place?
Yeah.
Or thinking happy thoughts or feeling happy emotions from a sad place.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What does that feel like? And it's just like, that's like, I love doing that. So sometimes I've done things where I've been like, okay, I am going to open Unsplash, which is like a stock photos and stuff like that, but it's like really nice and super high quality.
What's it called?
It's called Unsplash, unsplash.com. So if you ever need like stock photos, they have great, like the photographers are incredible on that site. It's like one of my favorite. I actually like it. I subscribe to like not free ones, like paid ones, and I like Unsplash better. So shout out to Unsplash.
Sponsored
Pay
by
us. And I'll just like load up a photo. Like I hear the music and I'm like, okay, what kind of feeling does this conjure? And if whatever the first word that comes to my head, so maybe it's sunset, I'll just look up a photo of a sunset and then I'll just click one and open it and I'll write a song based off that photo.
Interesting.
Oh, wow.
Do you keep that photo up?
To keep it just there in front of me the whole time. And I just look at the picture and like, what are the words that come?
Well, that's me.
From a lyrical perspective, I've done that as well. Yeah. So like lots of exercises like that so that you can just open another door, limit yourself to unlimit yourself.
Right.
Yeah. What got you into songwriting? Because you seem to be passionate about it and it seems to be a great coping mechanism for you as well as something that you truly want to pursue.
So my grandfather is a Grammy nominated composer. He works so he worked on a lot of Disney projects. I think the one he got the nomination for was for The Grinch.
Okay.
And he did the CD-ROMs and all of the post stuff. And like, he also did a bunch of their catalog of just like their stock. So he would record stuff with like the TS, like Toronto Symphony Orchestra, and they keep it on file for if they ever need, like they have like a battle scene and they just want to pull like, so
they have like a library.
They have a library. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. He did a bunch of the stuff for their library. And so back in the day, before technology, before like the 70s, I think 70s, 80s, it was all live instrumentation. There was no Pro Tools, there was no Logic, there was no Ableton, there was no, what's that other one most people are using right now? FL Studio. There was none of that, right? So you're just like getting into the studio and you're using analog and you're using live instrumentation. The first version of like, let's call it like the Logic, the DAW, the very first DAW was called I don't know if it was the very first one. I'm not gonna go on record and say that, but one of the first DAWs was the called the Fairlight. And it was this, like in the 70s, this massive, like it's like think of a computer in the 70s. The computer was the size of this board, like massive computer, but very bizarre. The interface is hilarious, like super weird, and it was just like decks and decks and decks of sound patches, but the sounds were incredible. So my grandpa switched to digital when that became the new thing. So in the 80s, he bought this Fairlight machine, which was like, I don't know, $100,000 or something back then. Like insane. Like
That's
this
a ton of money.
Ridiculous, I don't know if it was that much, but like, let's say maybe it was the same. Maybe
it was a lot.
But it was a lot of money back then. Like nothing but it was the investment he had to make in his career, because like nobody wanted to fork out the money for a studio to record the orchestra, to record symphonies. So he had to be able to make the music, right?
Yeah.
So long story short, that's what I wrote my first song on.
Wow.
No way. That's actually crazy.
A Fairlight. And this is like I didn't do it, but I worked with like him or like my uncle or my aunt. And so we had a studio in my house growing up because we lived in a house with my grandparents as well.
Yeah.
And so I would after school, I would like set up these like sessions with my aunt, and I'd be like, I have an idea for like a song, and I'd like sing a melody and she'd like play it in, and you have to like click it in. Like it was so weird.
Wow.
And I wish I still had those recordings, but like, and so that's how I got into like songwriting. not in the typical way that most people do, which is like, you go on BeatStars and you download a thing and you try to write a song. Like I was coming from nothing, and I was like, I have this melody in my head, and I would sing it to her and she would try to put it down, and I would like, and then, I got a computer and I got on GarageBand, and then that was a lot easier.
What age would you say you were during this time?
I want to say like 11, 12, like something in that space. Like I don't remember. It was like, I just don't remember what was exactly was going on. Then I got my own computer. Like I said, I got my own computer. And it was funny me showing my grandpa, like when I was like working on Logic, and I showed him, and he's like, you can't do it all here. Like in his head, he's going like, what? You have to have a mixing board, and you have to have all this stuff. And I'd show him a song I wrote or like produced on this little laptop, and he was like, jaw on the floor. Like, there's no way.
That's
like,
wild.
you can't, this is insane. So, songwriting is very important to me, just because it was like a natural progression. I started, I have been singing, and I'm very, like, I have done a lot of vocal, like, technique and training. So, you can only sing other people's songs for so long. Right? And so, I guess I always had a song in my heart and just wanted to let it out. But yeah, songwriting is, I think, like, I don't know if I'm more of a singer or more of a songwriter. I don't think I could possibly say.
So, like, would you say, like, growing up, like, you've always been around music, like, in the household?
Oh, hands down. My family is purely, like, it's all arts.
All musicians?
Like, everyone. Yeah, like, literally, I think everyone. My parents, like, practically met on the set of, like, a musical theater. Like, like, I think that my dad was the drummer and my mom was in, like, it was like a chorus line. Like, they were on a show, on a stage, So my whole family.
You got music in your blood, basically.
Literally. Flowing through my veins.
Were they just doing it kind of like as like a side passion?
Totally professionally. My dad's like a professional. Like that was his profession. He was a drummer. My grandpa also. My mom was she's a dancer, and she toured doing that. And then also she was a singer. And my aunt worked with my grandpa doing music. They did a lot of film, so we like did a lot of composition for film. Same thing with my uncle. My sister is also in film and is in a band as well. She sings. Like, there's just no getting away from it. My family was just like we're at family birthdays. We're like, who's doing the harmony? Like, are you going to do the third? Like, who's actually what it is? Everyone wants to do the harmony, and someone has to do the melody. And it's like we draw straws, and whoever loses. To do the melody. So
that's awesome.
So did you have because obviously if your whole like family line like that comes from like the creative aspect, did you feel like a lot of pressure?
No
pressure. In terms of like having to kind of like follow along the footsteps of everybody? Not
at all. Not in my experience. I am like very blessed with like my family is pretty incredible. I'm very fortunate to like, I don't know how to describe this house, but it's like, I don't know if you've ever seen those memes where it's like, oh, did your parents like love and support you, or were you normal? I'm like the not normal one. Like, my parents are extremely loving and supporting and supportive of like whatever we did, no matter what it was. If it wasn't going to be in like arts, like, I don't think they would have cared, although they would have been like, are you sure you're my child? But I didn't feel any pressure. I just felt like, I just was like, this is what I want to do.
Gotcha.
Like, I didn't feel any, I think if anything, they probably would have been more like, don't get into the arts. If anything, they would have been more likely to be like, you're smart, you do well in school, go be an architect or something. But they didn't do that either. So...
But what did you end up doing? Because have you been doing music the entire time?
I've been doing music my whole life, but not like on and off.
Okay.
So my like trajectory is like super weird and winding, and I've taken detours. I wish I had focused in harder when I first was like getting started. I wish I had not stopped, and I did stop for a little while, but I wish I hadn't. And
how come?
It was just a weird time in the music industry, actually. It was like, we didn't really have self-streaming platforms at the time. Like, you couldn't just...
There was no
distribution. But it was like when Napster, like after Napster essentially changed the music industry and made music not profitable for record labels.
What is Napster?
Oh boy.
So Napster was
Napster's the original Spotify, but like illegally.
yeah.
It
was
or
like
the streaming.
So this is when like CDs started becoming
obsolete. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Word.
So
like LimeWire or like torrent. It was like a torrent site, but it wasn't torrents.
Right.
You would just go on Napster, whatever song you wanted, and you could download it.
Yeah.
But it was illegal essentially, but like everyone was doing it and there were no laws around it. Like it was illegal, but there wasn't any laws. There was no repercussions. It was crazy.
You know what's fucked up? They're still nabbing people for using Napsters today.
Oh my God.
They're still coming after people.
I never
who
used Napster. I don't know what you're talking about.
Putting people in jail for stealing music 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy, bro.
It was, and so what happened
Pay
at
your
that
artists.
it was crazy. So at that time, what was happening was labels were putting, massive amounts of money into artists, into development, into everything. And they couldn't recoup because people weren't buying the albums anymore.
Yeah.
Because why would they? They would just go online, download the exact same thing for free. And so it hadn't balanced out at that point. It just hadn't leveled out. What happened was the labels just went, okay, well, we have no money anymore, or not that we don't have any money, but we're not making hundreds of millions of dollars. So we're not going to invest in any artists. So they stopped investing in artists. They wouldn't develop you, but you also had no avenue to do it yourself because there just wasn't anything. Spotify. I don't even know if YouTube existed. Maybe it did, but it wasn't like a platform really for music. I don't really know. I'm trying to think about it actually when it was. And so I was, in the process, I was working with like a management group from Universal, and they basically were just like, hey, like you're going to have to find $5 million of investment. And I was like, what?
Wow. Yeah.
I was like, what? For what?
What year? Do you know what year this is?
I feel like it was like 2010-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Fuck.
Like I something in that range.
That's a tough time also, just because like if you listen to the music that was being released during that time, it's like as much as there wasn't as many artists per se, the level of competition between those times was like insane.
It was insane. It was impossible. It was like here. Yeah, the labels. Well, you'll get a deal, and we can get you on like radio, and we can get you in this place. The radio was like the only outlet. Like also because for me, I think I was like making pop music, so it's not like I could just go play the underground circuit. Like my whole audience couldn't get into the clubs.
Yeah.
So I was like, what could I do? I couldn't go anywhere, and so I was just like, well, I don't have $5 million, and I don't know anybody who's going to invest $5 million into a business. Like that's a bad business move right now with the market being where it's at. Like it was crazy. So I didn't want to stop. I just had nowhere to go from there in that moment.
Yeah.
And if you remember kind of back to that time, there were almost no new artists came out for like a couple of years. There was no new. It was just like, the days of like Katy Perry and like it was like nothing happened for 2 years in terms of new artists. It was just the same artists pumping out new songs because the record labels were like, well, we know we can recoup. And that's when 360 deals started so that they could start making their money back on tours and on like it used to be that artists would make their money on album sales and tours would lose money, but they were promotion. And now
tours are the ones making
you make your money on your tours and you maybe lose money or you don't make that much money on your streams. So it's like essentially the industry was flipping on its head, and it just happened to be a moment when there was nothing to do. So what did? I did what any sane person would do. I moved to the Caribbean because why wouldn't you want to waste away your days laying on a beach drinking rum? And that's what I did.
Wow. That took an interesting turn.
Yeah.
Where in the Caribbean?
I moved to the Cayman Islands.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah.
How long?
2 years. So I decided, I was like, you know what? I still want to do music. I maybe can't go this avenue I was originally going to go, but like, why don't I take up DJing? That way, like I like house music. I can write, I can make house music. I'll get into this. So I started DJing. And then I just like had this opportunity, couple of opportunities. You put things out into the universe and the universe responds. And that's essentially what happened. I was watching a lot of House Hunters International and I became obsessed with moving because everybody was just like in this show. They're all like just selling all their shit and moving to an island. And I was like, well, that sounds like fun. What am I doing right here? You know what I mean? I'm DJing a few nights a week. Like, why not? And so I put that out into the universe that I wanted this. And within I think a week, I had like 2 opportunities. One was Shanghai and one was the Cayman Islands. And I was like, well, Cayman Islands seems like a really, like once I looked into it, it's English speaking, which was a nice hurdle that I didn't need to cross. Like not having to learn another language was like, not that I wouldn't want to, I would love to know another language, but to have to do it in like a pinch is like very challenging. So there's that. It was only 4 hours away, no taxes.
Damn.
And their dollar is worth more than the Canadian dollar. So it seemed like a freaking no-brainer. So yeah.
Were you DJing over there?
I did. I DJ'd for a little bit, and then I was like making more money bartending. So I was like, eh.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You bartend instead.
I'm just gonna bartend, and then I set up a little like home studio for myself there, and so I was writing and stuff, and then I put out a song. And it ended up all over the radio stations there, and that was fun. Cool. We made a little music video, and then and then I moved back, and then that's when I ended up at Mars.
Oh wow!
So that's my whole life story.
That is sick.
But yeah, the Caribbean, what a place, man.
What was that? What was that like? Like just on like, not only as like a creative standpoint, but like just like because obviously before that time you were trying to pursue music and like. For some people, like a listener listening would be like, "Oh, well, I can't just like get up and move to the Cayman Islands." Yeah. So like, how was that like transitional process? Like, you know what I mean?
I mean, it was so easy. Like, you can. Anyone thinking, "Oh, I can't just get up and move to the Cayman Islands," you are wrong, my friend. Because that's what we did. Like, we just sold all our shit, and we're like, okay, like what was it? I think it was within 2 weeks of making the decision to go, we had solidified like jobs and a place to live and everything. And then the Cayman Islands. In 6 weeks, we were on a plane.
Holy fuck!
Wow.
So you can. But the transition was just so amazing that I don't know what it's like for other people moving to other parts of the world and what their experiences were. But mine was just like it's the best thing I've ever done. It was so amazing. Like the thing about when you move somewhere that's common, like where you move somewhere that a lot of people are also doing the same thing, like moving to that location from wherever their home was, is that when you get there, it's like kind of like college. Like everybody's in the same situation. So
for the same reason.
For the same reason. And they've all been where you've been. They've all been the new guy. They've all been the new kid on the block. So it was just like we met the best people. We have the best friends. They're still like all our best friends. Yeah. And it was just like so welcoming and loving and just like party central. Like people were just like, "Oh, you're new, cool. Like come with us to this bar." Like we'd meet new people every day, and then we went to one bar and then another bar and another bar, and then this one has an open mic, and I just like met a random guy. He's he's guitar player, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to do a song?" And he's like, "Cool. What do you know?" And I said, "I don't know, James Brown." He's like, "Absolutely." And then we just get up and sing.
Wow.
It's an incredible experience if you can. I highly recommend just dropping everything and like moving to another country anytime.
Would you do it again?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it again.
Where would you go?
I'd go back to the Cayman Islands. But where would I go now if I was like, "Oh, I'm going to just randomly move somewhere"? Yeah. I've always wanted to like move to Australia because I think that's a thing that everybody does, That's a good one. It's a good place to go. Check it out. Yeah. Japan would be another one I think I'd be very interested in going. I've heard Singapore is insane. Like Singapore's like...
Isn't it really expensive there though?
I'm not sure, but I mean, can anything be more expensive than Canada?
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess that makes sense.
Like if you can live in Canada and find a way to deal with this country's living expenses, you can live anywhere. I can't imagine like what's worse.
There's a site, I can't remember what the site's called, but you can compare the cost of living in like different cities. Yeah. You can like literally A/B compare like what's the average price of rent, what's the gas prices in these different countries and cities, and like
the lifestyle thing, right? Like that's the thing about when we lived in the Cayman Islands. It was, and by we I mean me and my husband. I'm married. We weren't married at the time. We went, but we
vacation.
Vacation. 2-year vacation. Actually, funny. We went to the island. They call it Breakup Island because every couple that goes there together breaks up. No question. So we were given 8 weeks was the longest bet. Most bets were like 2 or 3 weeks that we would only last that long before we broke up. We ended up getting engaged and now we're married. So
damn.
They were wrong. Showed them. But yeah, so we went and the lifestyle is like, it's just so different than here. It's so much more chill. It's so much like you live. Like I don't know how, like we never used social media. We were never on social media when we were there because, and I think it's because we just were living. We were doing too much living to give a crap about showing the world our life. Because it was like,
you don't need to.
Living. You don't need to. You're having a great time. You're just living. You're out with your friends. You're on a boat. You're going home. You're just sleeping it off. You drank probably half a bottle of Jägermeister to your face. And, you know, like you're just chilling. And then you're getting up and you're going to go to work and you're going to work on a beach and hang out with your friends for a few days. And everybody's very chill and there's no hustle and bustle and like who gives it. There's nothing to buy. There's nothing to compare. Like it's just like you're just chilling. And so there's good things to that. And there's also drawbacks, right? Because then there's no hustle and bustle. There's no push. There's no reason to get up out of eventually. There's no reason to, you know, succeed. There's no reason. It doesn't feel like that, right? It's like Groundhog Day. So, you know, everything has its positives and its negatives.
There's no like grind.
There's no grind. There's no reason to grind, right? Like there's nothing to buy. Right. Like, and the cost of living was really at the time, I'm not sure what it is now, but when we lived there, we were bartending and we would make our rent and bills in like 2 nights of work.
Wow.
Yeah. So and then, like I said, like nothing to buy. We bought a car in the first like 3 weeks or something we were there. Like in the first 2 months. Yeah. We bought a car for cash, just like bought a car. We bought a Nissan Skyline. Like, I don't know if you know that. They're legal there. They're like, you can't buy them here.
That's crazy.
And it's the other side of the road.
Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
It's the other side of the road too. So that was interesting. But yeah, bought a car and like put first and last down on like our like new place we were going to rent, like our townhouse that we were going to rent. And in we went there, we ended up there with no money. Like we had spent basically everything. And within, you know, a number of weeks we were like
balling.
There's nothing to buy. You know, like here it's like, and also everything's like things are not cheap, but there's no things. There's nothing. You're just working.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with your time? You're gonna go to the beach. Like it doesn't cost you anything. You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I highly recommend doing it. I highly recommend that. I mean, it's like a perspective thing too. Like I think I wrote on like 100 songs about my experience there. All of them revolve around drinking. And being drunk. So I actually have like an entire album that I never released called After 3 a.m. That's pretty much just all about drinking. So maybe one day I will revive that and just
drop it.
Just drop it.
Drop it.
I'm curious as to what was your husband doing during the time like for work there?
Same thing. We were both bartending. He was managing a couple of like places. But yeah, we were just bartending. I worked at like a pool beach bar. And then also we worked at like a nightclub and like a few different places. But I do remember one of the reasons why we're like, okay, we got to go is because
I was just about to ask you, why did you come back?
Why did you leave? It's a beautiful, wonderful lifestyle in many ways, but the drinking was
out of hand.
We were like, okay, we can't do this. Like I remember you think, oh, you're at work, you're not drinking, but that's not how it works there. I remember I started a new job at a place and the manager, I'm like behind the bar, the manager comes up to me and he's like, okay, how many shots have you had? And I've been there for an hour. I'm like, I haven't had any shots. And he's like, oh, okay, 2 Jaeger bombs, line them up. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, cheers. So we do the shots. He's like, every, half hour or whatever, I'm going to come by, we're going to do a shot. I need to see how you handle yourself drunk. And I'm like, what? What is happening?
What the fuck?
Like,
because we don't do that here.
Like, it's required. It's not like, oh, you can drink on shift if you want. If you like ask somebody, like here you can't. There I was like, no, you have to be able to get blackout drunk at work and somehow function. And so, like there were times where I'd, drink. I think one night specifically, I remember because we have this game called Cayman Dice. It's a dice game. It's a very simple game, but you have to play it because the bar, like whoever loses sponsors, which means they buy the round of shots for everyone who played. Yeah. And so the bar has to be in so that there's a possibility that everybody gets a free shot, right? So you have to play on behalf of the bar. And so every time you play, you have to take a shot. And people, like, you have to play anytime someone brings up the dice cup.
Right.
So it's just a constant, like you could be doing a shot every fucking 15 minutes. Right? So it's like, it's crazy. Wow. It can get really crazy. So you had to, like, one night I drank an entire bottle of Jägermeister while I was behind the bar. And I was like, I looked at it and I was like, I want to, like, nobody pour from this bottle because I want to know what happens. And I opened a brand new bottle at the beginning, and that was my shift. I drank a bottle of Jaeger.
Holy
Wow.
And I was like,
how did you function?
yeah, that's the scary thing, right? It's just like you work yourself up to being able to do that. And also your brain does a thing where it goes, you have to stay alive. Like you have to stay sober until you don't have to anymore. So what happened was I was fine-ish. I'm not going to say I was fine. I was hammered for sure. But then the second I finished like my shift, gone.
You blacked out.
No recollection. I took a cab home, and that's like I remember that I blacked out. You know, like I remember that I took a cab home, and so we were like, okay, this is getting to the point where like the day after drinking, I have to do 10 shots of vodka to level out. Yeah, we're gonna stop now.
Oof.
You know, like just to stop, just to like get through my shift. Yeah, we're gonna not do this anymore. Let's go home. But yeah, so that's. And I wrote a lot of drinking songs, as you can imagine.
Oh.
So then when you came back, what were you doing?
This whole podcast is just my whole life story. It's so crazy. But I like it. So thanks for asking me all these questions. We decided to open bars because we thought, what do we know? And so we came back and opened, well, we did have some ownership in a couple of restaurants when we were there. And then when we came back, we opened a restaurant in Port Credit. And since then, we have opened like 4 or 5 restaurants. I actually have to think about it, but something along that line. So like that's now crazy. We also own 3 restaurants now.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we do like content creation and media and stuff like that. And everything just like feeds another thing. Because the thing about the music, right, is like, the music is the passion, and the music is the drive, and the music is the reason that I stay sane. Like if I'm not in the studio, I start going batshit crazy.
Right.
But the music, like I have to pay for that. You know, if I want to have my own studio and I want to have my own equipment and I want to have all that stuff, like we got to pay for that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what we did. We basically built businesses and stuff like that so that we could continue on our passions and continue doing that stuff and businesses that kind of fall in line. So like we have a media company and we're doing content creation, and that is feeding into the marketing side of the music. So
interesting. Myself as a freelancer, like I work a lot. You know, I'm working anywhere between 60 hours to 100 hours in any given week. And being a business owner, just my understanding, a lot of times that can require, you know, being involved and being inside your business and working. How did you get to that point where you had that flexibility and freedom to then, okay, these establishments are been successful and now I can continue to work on my career as an artist? Yeah.
I mean, it's like having the people, right? Like we have an incredible team and they take care of the restaurants. But like for a long time, I was, you know, 1 foot in the restaurants and 1 foot in the music. And like that division definitely takes its toll and causes like setbacks, right? Because it causes setbacks, but it's also the reason that I'm able to continue. So it's like, it's this double-edged sword, right? So it's about getting your systems down realistically. Like if you have your systems, so, you know, our first restaurant took a lot more time for us to be able to walk away and not have to be there every single day than our second one did, than our third one did, than our fourth, you know, because by the third one or the second one, we had ironclad systems of the things we knew we had to do in order to be able to not need to be there anymore. We knew how we needed to train people. We knew what, like, essentially what systems, like cash outs, blah, 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 all the stuff. We knew what we needed to have done. And so that made it a lot easier, a lot faster. Our most recent one that we opened, I was only there for like a couple of months not like morning to night, just there like in the evenings, you know, 3 or 4 days a week. So I still had all of my mornings and then 2 days as well to continue working on music. So systems, 100% in systems. And yeah, I can't speak enough to systems. Wow. You looked at him when I said that. You were like, yeah, why did you look at him like that?
You're huge on systems. Huge. I have a question though, really quick before we get on that.
Yeah, go for it.
What are the names of the restaurants?
So they're in Port Credit. which is just on like, I don't know if you know what that is, Mississauga, South Mississauga, like
Yeah.
right along the water.
Beautiful area.
What's that? It's a beautiful area. And for
Beautiful
anybody
area.
who doesn't know, who hasn't gone to Port Credit is like, it is in the summer and on the weekends, it is just like King Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like crawling with people, lineups down the street at every bar, like nightclub vibes at all of the restaurants. It's insane. It's so busy. It's crazy. It's like absolute ludicrous. You'd think you were on King Street. So we have Nomads and which is Nomads, Bonsai, which is like a sushi restaurant, and then we have a takeout place called The Feed,
Wow.
a chicken place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Dope. Yeah. Go eat at those places
Go
while
eat
you're in
there
Toronto.
so that I can keep
Mississauga,
making
go
music for you to dance to.
We're gonna have that come out one day too.
For sure.
Yeah, I want to definitely want to host a little party there. You know, it gets wild. It's like super fun, really good place to be. But
Nice.
you know,
So
That's
when you guys like moved back right from the Cayman Islands and like went into kind of like building like starting the restaurant businesses and stuff, were you guys kind of like operating off of like savings from before, or did you guys get investors or whatnot? I'm just curious. You know what I mean? Yeah.
a bit of both. A bit of both. Definitely, yes. I remember very clearly that we committed. So the first restaurant we ended up selling our shares. The first one that we opened in Port Credit was called El Jefe. And we committed to our investment that we needed to make within, a very short amount of time. And we only had like a quarter of it. But we were like, and we had no way of getting the rest of it. We had no idea where it was going to come from. And this, I will say, is very much my husband. You may know who he is. He's kind of Instagram famous. It's Johnathan Harvey on Instagram. He's an entrepreneur, and he's been talking from his car about political things, all things political. So you may know who he is, but he is an entrepreneur, and he has this theory, or I don't know if it's a theory. I don't even know if it's his, but he talks about it all the time. And he says, you jump off of like a cliff and you build your wings on the way down. And you've got to jump off. You've got to go. You've got to just do it.
That's a good saying.
And that's what we did essentially. And I will that's terrifying. And I am not that person, and I probably never would have done that. And I guess that's the beauty of these kinds of partnerships, is you learn and you grow. And I am so much more like that now, just from like seeing him operate and doing those kinds of things. And yeah, he committed to it. We gave them all the money that we had, or most of the money that we had anyway. And yeah, it was only a quarter of it. And, we had a couple of weeks to come up with the rest of it. And we had no idea where it was going to come from.
Shit.
And we've done that a number of times.
That's wild.
Since then. And it always works out.
Yeah.
It always comes to fruition.
Really about having faith, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda like
Build
just
your
taking
wings on
that
the way
leap of
down. If
faith.
you know you can build them, I think that's the thing, right? Like,
But
and
you don't know if you can build them unless you jump.
I guess. So
Right.
you're taking that bet on yourself, but you got to bet on yourself, right?
It's kind
I'm
of
sure
like,
after the first time though, it's like
After the first time,
Yeah, you
it
get
gets
some
easier.
confidence,
It definitely
yeah.
gets easier.
Yeah.
Just like anything, after the first time, it gets easier.
Yeah.
It's interesting how, like, you learn things from one experience and you can apply them to the rest of your life, right? It's
I was
like,
literally just about to say that,
Like-
because it's like you're tying that. You could relate that to you and being an artist
absolutely,
now, right? Putting out that first song.
100%. And then that's part of this, like, this project for me was like this, once a week thing it was a way for me to not at all be able to be a perfectionist, and for me to not have any choice but to jump off the cliff and build my wings on the way down. Right.
Yeah.
Like, because if I'm going to do this and I start it and I do it, now I have to do it.
Yeah.
I can't just be like, oh, the song's not perfect and I have to change this and I don't know if the sound is right and does it go good with this other song and is this album? No, I can't do any of that. So you just have to go. You just have to believe in yourself that you can do this and that you're going to do it, and then you just do it.
And you're documenting the entire
And
thing.
you're documenting the whole thing, and
That's wild.
it's wild. It is a wild ride. Like, it's a lot of work, but I think at
Yeah.
the end of the day, whenever you're doing something that's for you, it's like doesn't feel like as much work.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No matter what, even if it is, it just doesn't feel like it.
I
So
like that.
but that's the thing about like life experience just in general, right? You learn from one thing, you apply it to the next, and you apply it to the next, and you apply it to the next. And that's like the beauty of just like having any and all like life experiences, whatever they are, and trying to make sure that you learn from every single thing that you do. And because like my journey has been very like, you know, very winding. It's been quite a winding road and been all over the place. But every single thing that I have done and been a part of is actually helping me every single day in my music career.
Right.
Even if it's from a business perspective, right? Like I look at the situation now as well with like record labels and like record deals and like what's kind of happening in the industry these days where, you know, if you want to get a record deal, they basically want you to come to the table with a full plate.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, hi,
Already
you need to have a following. You
yeah.
need to be a marketing machine. You need to have music out. You need to do all the things that a record label used to do.
Yeah.
You know, that was their job, was to make you into an artist, but you have to come to the table with everything just so that they can essentially distribute and give you like publication, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think the thing that really frustrates me when I see that is now we have people who, yeah, they're like TikTok famous. They're, you know, they built that following in some other capacity. Now they have that fan base and now they can just
get a record deal.
They walk up to the label and go, hey, I have like fucking 250,000 people following me and they can't sing, but hey, the label they'll invest because they already have the fans.
They kind of have like the proof that like you can get numbers, and it's like
exactly
labels nowadays is like as much as the talent is kind of like required there too. It's kind of like,
but you don't need the talent.
If you can draw a following, you can be an entertainer.
Yeah,
because that's what the investment is nowadays. It's more so about being able to be an entertainer versus the quality. Because like people can be funny, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or people can just have a relatable personality. Not necessarily the music is that great per se, but it's like it's just about those things that can really bring a crowd and being able to sell tickets. And that's like the biggest thing.
It's being able to sell, absolutely,
Exactly.
100%, and like. Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, I mean, like I choose not to think about that stuff because there's nothing I can do about it,
right.
You know. Anyway, but what from a business perspective, when you look at that, you just see like, okay, this is the business shift, and this is the new currency, right? The currency now. It used to be talent, and now it's following. So now at the end, as an artist, like the best thing you can do for yourself is get yourself a following.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do for yourself is get yourself like, so any way that you can do that, any way that you can get yourself out there is going to be like a positive thing for you. It's not just, and this is the part I think a lot of people have a hard time with because we think of music as being a craft, because it is. But so is the business side.
Yeah.
100%.
So is the creative marketing stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, in the world of business, in the world of entrepreneurship, you're always thinking about leverage. What can you leverage? Can you leverage your time? Can you leverage your money? Can you leverage people? Can you leverage, what can you leverage to get where you need to go? Usually when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, you can leverage your time and your experiences and your knowledge.
Yeah.
So for us, what we could leverage was our time and our knowledge of the restaurant industry. So we had a lot of leverage there. We could get investments based on the fact that we knew how to operate, and we knew how to operate restaurants, and we knew how to also build them because, you know, we have construction in our backgrounds and whatever, but like that was our leverage and our time. So we could leverage us physically using our time to build these establishments and build the clientele.
Exactly.
That was our leverage. You know, after that, you can leverage money and you can leverage people. Can you leverage your network? What is your leverage?
Proof of success too.
Right. Exactly. Proof of success. That's your leverage. As an artist, you have to think about that. You have to think about it in the same way. Yeah. What can you leverage to get yourself to the next step and to get yourself to the next level? And it doesn't mean using people. It means leverage. So for me, I have a recording studio and I can use that as I have a recording studio and I have I also have I have a cylindrical wall for photo shoots. I can use that as leverage for people that I'm working with, where we can both benefit off of that.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
How can I leverage, I'm a content creator. Can I leverage my skills as, you know, a videographer, as a photographer? How can I leverage that to, you know, my next step? And the reality was that for me as an artist, this whole project is about me leveraging my entire skill set and putting it to use in every facet of my life. So
that's such a dope thing to hear, because like you see so much in this industry, especially, like, it's a lot of like wanting to just take, and like it just comes to that basis right there.
And what happens when you just take? You deplete.
Yes.
Exactly.
And there's nothing left. That's what happens when you just take.
You got to give.
You have to give. Everything needs to be a symbiotic relationship. Otherwise, it's over. It's over in seconds. The second that you are just take, it's done. You're done for.
It's a good book called The Go-Giver. Not The Go-Getter, The Go-Giver.
I think you said that like 3 times.
Bro, I'm telling you,
you don't
this
have
book?
it by now.
Okay, we're reading The Go-Giver?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's the next book on the list. Absolutely. Yeah.
I liked everything that you said there. And one other kind of thing too is like, you don't want to, it's about, yes, you want, as an artist, you want to be able to get those followers. And at the same time, just because you have the followers doesn't mean that you're, like you were saying, we need to be able to find a way to leverage those followers.
Yeah.
Because it's what you can do with those followers. How are you benefiting your followers? And at the same time, how, just because you have 100,000 followers doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean 100,000 people are going to buy your song.
No.
Exactly.
Because
your show.
you can buy followers. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But, and the other thing too is that, and honestly, that is kind of the game that we're into, which is what makes this whole thing hilarious, is that is basically we're back to where we started, which is it's a money game.
Yeah.
You know, like you can buy yourself a following. You can just promote, but you just need money for that, right? So it's like
a lot of the time people will see through that though.
No, for sure.
And because there is the authenticity aspect that you need to maintain.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing with the following too is that it comes right back to what we were talking about before, which is the giving side. Because it's like, if you want an authentic, like great following, if you want that from people, you have to, what are you doing to deserve that? What are you giving to get their attention? What are you giving to get their follow? What are you giving to get their loyalty to you?
Exactly.
Right? Because if you're just constantly like shameless self-promoting, like what are you doing? What are you giving them?
Value to
you're not giving them anything. You're not giving. Who do you follow when you think about that kind of stuff? Like, so it's such a crazy world to navigate from this industry now. This industry has become, the entire world has become a little bit crazy to navigate, but this industry as well has become way crazier, way more difficult to navigate than it was 30 years ago.
And like looking at it from the outside, I see that it's completely revolved around social media.
Oh,
it's revolved around TikTok. Now it used to be Instagram. At one point, it was MySpace.
I was just gonna say, at one point, it was MySpace.
So, like,
yeah.
As much as it has given a turn, like, I don't want it to make it seem like it's such a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because, like, it is obviously giving a lot of opportunity to a lot more people to be able to get their foot in the door.
Correct.
Like, for example,
Totally.
Like, similar to how you mentioned with the label saying you have to have $5 million. Like, if you say that to an artist now, they'll be like, I don't need 500.
I can make my own money.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just need 1,000 fans,
exactly.
and I can live
I just need to hop on
comfortably.
TikTok.
Like,
Yeah.
So it's like it giving the opportunity to a lot of different people to kind of like still progress. Now, it's more so just about like understanding how to actually maneuver it, and it's like a lot of people are using it in the wrong way and expecting it to be able to kind of like still give the same results
right.
that like natural fan bases do. But it's like you can see the difference. It's like you might have a person that has like 250,000 followers on the gram, and then you go to their live show and they can't sell out 100
I can't sell
tickets.
20 tickets.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that's where it actually starts to show, and it starts to be like, I don't know if your followers are real, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That and like, and then that's when it starts coming back to the craft part, right?
Exactly.
Because it's like the craft is still the foundation, or it's still the reason that people are going to stick with you. I mean, you can have all these followers on TikTok from like one thing because you were an early adopter of TikTok and you ended up with millions of followers. And then you can decide, okay, now I'm going to do what I really wanted to do and be an artist. But the question is, like, do you deserve that yet?
Yeah.
And most of them don't, honestly. They're bypassing the grunt work And you can't bypass the grunt work of, you know, sitting in studios and being the lowest on the totem pole in the writing room and learning to write a good song and having someone tell you you're shit and you're never going to make it and you having to decide that they're fucking wrong and you are going to still go. Like, you know what I mean? They haven't done that, so they have no confidence. I was watching something about basically this exact situation, and there's an artist who blew up on TikTok, not as an artist, but as a TikToker. And decided that they wanted to become, you know, an artist.
Is it Charlie D'Amelio's sister?
Absolutely, it is. And watching that, and nothing against her. Like if it were me and I was in that position, of course I would take that opportunity.
Again, it's leverage, right?
But because she has that leverage.
Yeah.
And it's not like she's bad. She's not bad. She's a decent singer. She's not great. But she's not. That's because she hasn't put in any kind of work into her craft. She has not. Like, she hasn't had years and years of singing lessons. She hasn't had crappy performances at the state fair where she did a terrible job and she felt awful about it and had to pick herself up off the floor. Your confidence comes from failures. Your confidence does not come from being the best all the time.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because that's not real confidence. And so she has none. She's no confidence in herself. And but why would she?
But being on TikTok, that gives them a false sense of confidence.
Yeah, I think and it also breaks them into a million shreds. Like TikTok is
that's what I mean.
It's so crazy.
Like, so we saw the same thing with Bieber. He blew up off of YouTube, I believe. So he did a cover for a song. Who found him again? I can't remember. Usher found him.
Or Justin
And
Timberlake.
then same thing with Shawn Mendes, who's found on Vine.
Yeah.
Back in the old days.
A lot of comedians.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing now TikTok kind of doing the same thing, but you know, I look at Bieber and you look at Mendes, like they couldn't really sing that well. Like they were good, but not. It took a while for them to get to where they are now, right? And I'm just hoping that Dixie, that she can do the same thing.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
Be able to sustain that.
But like to have this expectation of her that she's going to be a fortified artist, that she's even going to have any kind of confidence in herself as a singer when she's never, or just anything like what has to happen and what makes you unbreakable is you realizing that you're unbreakable. Is that you go through the worst thing, the thing that you thought was going to break you, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Boom, you're unbreakable.
That's kind of like the challenging part though with like the new like archetype that we're in, because like with all the social media, it's kind of opened up the gates to like the entry into like stardom is like right there at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And it's like some people are chasing for that chance to just get into stardom, and some people actually happen to fall into that accidentally.
Yeah.
But the difference is that once you fall into it, like you now have an expectation for yourself, regardless of wherever you're at in your journey, wherever it is that you're at, like starting. You may have started making music last week and then put something on TikTok and have a million views. And people are like, okay, we want to hear more. And it's like, yo, like I don't even make music for real, but like, let me just try to do it.
Yeah.
And people hear the stuff after that and they're like, dang, like that ain't it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like because the entry level. I was already talking to.
You're not starting at the ground floor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you started at the 20th floor and you have no idea how you got there. So how do you know how to get to the next step?
Exactly. And that's what makes the difference between like the people that have longevity in the game.
Yeah.
Because like those are the people that have put in the grunt work, similar to how you explained, like very earlier on in their careers. They've already gone through their 10,000 hours doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel bad for these TikTokers who are famous, quote unquote. And
I do too.
Because they're going to grow up one day and they're not going to have that same.
I just feel bad for this entire generation, honestly. Like I thought millennials had it bad, and now I'm like looking at Gen Z and I'm just like, this is not good. And what's transpiring here.
Okay, so I went to the X the other day and it was so funny. This is kind of irrelevant, but
nothing's irrelevant.
For our American listeners, tell us what the X is.
The X is the exhibition place.
The Canadian National Exhibition.
Yes, it's like just a fair that they do. Anyway, so I was in the convention center, and it's like the big ass building, and they had a whole gaming area of all these retro games, and it was just a sea of kids just playing video games. I'm like, okay, so you guys got outside of your house
just to go back to the screen.
That's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
And now you're sitting in front of a screen again.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's nuts.
you got halfway there. You got halfway
nuts.
there.
It's
Just a little bit better. At least I'm not on the couch.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so weird. It's such a weird world we're looking at right now, honestly, like for these kids, like for so many reasons, but like, you know, the studies and stuff that are being done and like there's no like stigma around like quitting or like, you know what I mean? Like everything is so easily at their fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
And the second, and also like this, we are teaching things in a way like this, the fragility of like people's egos and like, there's no resilience. There's absolutely no resilience.
Yes.
I was talking to an artist and like, it's weird because like part of me feels bad, but another part of me is going like, well, if she couldn't like handle me saying one thing, like, you know what I mean? Like, and this is crazy because I tell every artist that I work with this is an interesting thing. Almost every artist that I work with has no or very little or not a lot of that I have worked with, I should say, has not got the strongest falsetto. Almost. I've worked with a few that do have a developed falsetto, and I don't know if it's just because I'm working with a few people who are like kind of earlier in the game from a singing
for the
perspective.
people that don't know
what is a falsetto. Yeah. So the falsetto is the head register, the higher end of your voice. The chest register is the lower and stronger end, and the falsetto is the airy. That's your falsetto, like this.
Fire.
Like,
say that again.
very,
Say that again.
I don't even know what I do. But like, hi, my name is Megan, and I'm singing in my falsetto. Yeah, that's your falsetto.
Snaps.
If I were to do that in my chest voice. Hey, my name is Megan and I'm singing in my chest voice. Like those are the differences. You can clearly hear them, right? One of them I'm singing way up high in my register. Also, it's very airy. It's thin. The chest voice has a lot more power. It's a lot stronger. So what naturally happens when you start singing is you go right for the chest voice because it's the strong part.
Right.
It's the one you know how to use the most because you talk with it. It's the more natural thing. And then as you sing, if you take lessons, if you work on your craft, if you work on your instrument, your voice is your instrument, then you end up learning about the falsetto and you develop the falsetto and you end up with a well-rounded voice. And you need the falsetto. It's like it's the yin and the yang. It's the other half. It balances you out and it makes sure that you don't blow out your voice. If you're constantly singing in your chest voice and you never use your falsetto, you're going to lose your voice at some point because it's exhausting. The falsetto requires a lot less like energy to use and a lot less vigor, and it doesn't put as much stress on it puts like almost no stress on your vocal cords. So you could sing your falsetto forever. But anyway, my point was to say that most new singers or people who are self-taught don't learn how to use their falsetto. Every once in a while, you find one that does, and you're like, wow, that's fucking amazing. But most of them don't. So I have been in the position with people being like, okay, do you have a falsetto? Like, let's hear your falsetto. And they can't, or it's extremely weak, or they don't know how to access it. Or if they do, like I can get them to access it, but like they don't know how, right? And there was one artist I was, working with, and we were talking, and I said, okay, like one of my suggestions is that you need to build your falsetto because your chest voice is very strong, but you don't have a falsetto. You have no access to your falsetto right now. So take some singing lessons. And it destroyed her.
No way. Absolutely
destroyed her.
Yeah.
Like she couldn't handle that. And I was like, you want to be a singer? And I said, take singing lessons, and you can't handle that?
Yeah. A lot of people
what? Like that you can't think that you're going to be in this industry
if you can't handle criticism.
And that's not even criticism. I'm saying take singing lessons because you're good.
Yeah.
Like if you're good, you should take singing lessons. If you're not good, there's no point. Quit. But if you're good, you should take singing lessons. And she was very good.
And that's another thing too, is like, okay, so therapists, they have therapists. Business coaches, guess what? They have business coaches.
You think Beyonce's not taking singing lessons?
Exactly.
Every fucking day.
Exactly.
Like everyone is taking
because I think the most important part of that is you are uncovering those blind spots that you don't see, right? And you're also providing that to that artist that you were working with.
Yeah. So that's the whole point. Like, what are we doing in this room? But it was like this weird like realization that I was like, what? Like you couldn't deal with that? Like me telling you that you should do this was like such a blow to you, and then that was it for you. Like you were done. I was like,
Wait, so she quit?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think she maybe still is like she didn't want to work with me anymore though. Like she was really mad. Like I had absolutely destroyed her. I was like, okay, I shouldn't like, but that's the world that we're kind of working with these, like they take, it's weird though. It doesn't make sense to me because they take criticism online. Like they get just
as if it were reality.
People are awful. And meanwhile, they're like getting just hammered with it, but then they can't take someone telling them anything. Or like, they don't like a job for 2 seconds. They're out of there. Like they're just switching a job. It's like, you're not going to like everything that you do. But if you don't learn how to persevere through the things that you don't want to do, how are you ever going to get to the places that you want to get to? Like,
facts.
Do you think you want it? Are you going to like, even this project that I'm doing right now that I want to do for me, and it's entirely mine. Yeah. The editing of the videos. Like, there are some days like I'm dying right now. I'm exhausted. Like, I'm so tired and I don't want to do it. Yeah. And it's my project for me.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing your own thing that you want to do and you're not going to want to do it. But if you can't get past that, you're done for. It's a crazy thing. But anyway.
I like to look at it in the sense of like, if, for example, because like as human beings, we're going to do what we want to do, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you ever have like an obligation or like a task that you're looking to accomplish, and like it gets to that point where like, let's say like you can't take the criticism and then you break down and then let's say you quit or whatever it is, right? It's like, it kind of shows you, at least to yourself, or like how I kind of take it is like the desire wasn't really there.
Absolutely.
Type of thing. And it's like at the end of the day, you're doing yourself a favor. Because it's like you're wasting your time in something that you do not really want bad enough.
100%.
But I'm a play the caveat here. I want to make sure that the message is clear too, that you're getting criticism from the right people.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
Right?
100%.
Not your fucking homie who like, I don't know.
How do you know who the right person is?
So this is an interesting thing. Oh, sorry. You know what? How do you know who the right person is? I think it shouldn't feel like criticism is the wrong word.
It has a negative connotation to
it. Because really what it is feedback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because criticism is like, it implies that it's being said for the purpose of the person giving the criticism, not for the purpose of the person receiving it.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So like if I'm saying something to you, and I'm saying it for me, and it's criticism.
Right.
Because I want you to know my opinion, then it's criticism. If I'm saying it for you, because you're going to like grow and learn from this, then it's feedback. And so I think you can know that it's coming from the right person based on that.
Huh.
If they're giving you, if what they're telling you, if you can find a way to perceive, okay, are they telling me this because they want me to hear it for them?
Yeah.
So they can feel better about themselves for whatever reason, or because it's their thing. That could be one part of the gauge. Or, because it's weird. Like, how can you know? How can you know whose criticism or whose feedback to take and whose to leave behind? Because people can be in your corner. It can be someone who like seemingly is a producer or seemingly is there for you and seemingly has all the answers and seemingly could advance your career, but it's not the right like thing for you. How can you, I guess, what else? You have to try it? Like what else?
I think, I'll just kind of speak for myself about this whole criticism and feedback. So I have like, me being a mixing engineer, I have like 4 or 5 people that I kind of go to when like I don't feel 100% confident in one of my mixes. I'll go send it off, and yes, like these are my friends, but we've built a relationship where I know that they're going to be honest with me no matter what. And I can rely on them when I need to for that feedback. And it's not criticism, and they all have different opinions. And sometimes it's, they're very clear about their communication too. They'll go, oh, I want to hear it this way.
Yeah.
And they're, oh, that's what I do. I do the same thing. I say, oh, my ear wants to hear this, opposed to it should sound like this.
Yeah, because there is no should, right?
Right.
And that's just I say that all the time and I don't mean to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, should, but there is no should.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think you got to be gentle with the way you communicate sometimes too. But
yeah, I think that's, going to someone that you know that you can trust.
It's easier to go to the people you don't know. Because it's like
Really?
if you go to, like, for example, right, like the people have this saying about, I don't know if people do, but like I've heard this, but like playing stuff, especially with music, playing stuff for your family may not be like the best sense of like true criticism, because like they care about you and they care about 100%. Your feelings and whatnot. But you can kind of get a census if you like play it for 100 or strangers, and you hear like 80 other than 100 say like, oh, this sounds a little bit like this. Maybe you can get an idea of like, oh, they might be right. You know what I mean? Type of thing.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's obviously like the people that are close to you in your very close circle that you can kind of go to, that you have a team built off of that. Like, I know I can send you something and get like your honest feedback. I know I could hit up Anthony. That was on one of our episodes. Yeah. But I could hit him up, or I can hit a couple other people up to be able to send through stuff. But like, let's say for example, I can't like directly go to you guys, or like maybe for some reason I still feel like after hearing you guys' feedback, I still feel a different way. I can go talk to like a couple strangers. I could literally stand outside and be like, yo, listen to this, and tell me your feedback. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not that difficult. You know?
Yeah. It's such a fine line you have to walk, though. You have to know when to trust your gut and when to listen, because it is really important to listen to people's feedback. And it's so important, but it can also be the worst decision you make to listen to people's feedback. So it's like really getting to know yourself and trusting yourself, and knowing when you know that something is off in terms of like the song, let's say. Yeah. Knowing when you're like, I know something's off. It's not right. It's not where it needs to be. And I need to find out what that is. And so I need to get this feedback from people. Yeah. But also knowing like, okay, I feel good about it, and I want to check these things with other people to see where other people are at. But I'm not necessarily going to take the feedback because I am feeling like in this good place. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's this weird, you got to be open because you don't know what you don't know, right?
I feel like that makes sense though, in the sense of like, when you, like, for example, for yourself, you've done your hours, you've put in your work, and like you understand, like, if I'm coming out the gate where like I'm like, hey, I'm trying to learn how to engineer, and my first session with you, you're like, yo, do this. I'm like, I think I got it, type of thing. You know what I mean? It's like, if I'm just starting, if I'm just starting in it, you know, you got to be open to taking more feedback from more people.
Definitely.
I think. Yeah, and I think like what you don't want is to create like an echo chamber where people are just like, yeah, it's fucking good all the time, and you kind of want. I like following people, and I like talking to people where we're gonna have
like a back and forth,
different opinions, because I get a different perspective that makes me try to truly understand where they're coming from, and it challenges me, and I like that. I embrace it.
Super important. That's how I pick my friends. I'm like, if I can't steamroll you, we can be friends, because I have a habit of being like a bit of a steamroller from like a personality perspective. I'm like, I have a lot of gumption. I don't know if that's the right word, and so I do find that like that's another thing that I look for in a producer that I'm working with is like, are you able to tell me what you really think? Because this isn't going to go anywhere. It's not going to become the best. My goal is always to make the best whatever. Make the best beat, make the best song, sing it the best way. And if you don't feel like you can tell me, hey, I think you should use this voice instead, or try this, or I don't like this line, or we should change this melody. Yeah. If you can't tell me that, we cannot work together. And so that's why I say that I can be a challenge, is because I'm actually apparently a hard person to approach. Like, people feel like they can't, like they don't want to say, like, but not because, which I think is really funny, because my response is, okay, I'll try that always. Because what does it hurt to try it? Right? Exactly. I'm always like, no, we try everything. Every in a writing room, I'm like, what were you going to say? Like, oh no, I don't want it. No, what were you going to say? Yeah. What was the word? What are you thinking? Yeah. Because there's no wrong answer, and all that it can do is propel you forward. Because if you didn't use it, what happened? You just didn't use it.
Yeah. Exactly.
You just were like, it just didn't work. Like, you were in no different of a position than you were in, beforehand. So like, that's an incredibly important thing to find in a partner in terms of like someone you're working with, someone who can tell you straight up and who you are comfortable taking that feedback from as well, right? Who you trust. So if we are going to continue on a song, like we both have to be like, yes, this is right. You know, if one of us is like, I don't know, then we just, we're out.
It's there's a saying I kind of try to live by, and it's, if it's not a yes, like 100%,
then it's a no.
And then it's a no.
Yeah.
If I have to think about it like more than once. It's a no.
Absolutely. That's where we're at. And I think I think that just to, you know, back on what you were saying about in terms of like, if you're new to the game and you're like giving feedback, it's like, it is important. It's funny because it is important to recognize that as a newcomer to the industry, as a new artist, as a new writer, as a new engineer. It is important to recognize how much experience or what your lack of experience is in comparison to the person in the room that you're with. Not in a sense of being like you're worse or you're better, but in understanding the differences in the experience. But it also doesn't mean that you don't hear people out and their ideas. Like, so this can happen, it can happen on both sides. So a novice engineer, a novice, you know, producer can come in, head full of steam, think they know everything. And meanwhile, they're like talking out their ass and the other person is like, yo, buddy, chill.
Yeah.
And the opposite can be true. The new person can have really great, cool, fresh ideas, and the ego can get in the way from the other side. I have, you know, 10,000 hours and I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You shut up thing too. So it's like this, it's important to, I can't remember what the quote was, but if you're in the room and you're the person who has the most experience, the quote, I can't remember who said it, but was like, you know, I never met a man so stupid I couldn't learn anything from them. So it's like everyone needs to be approaching the situation from that perspective.
Exactly.
And also leaving your ego at the door.
Yeah.
You know, like this isn't, because it's not about you. It's about the piece of work.
Exactly.
It's not about who wrote what or who said what or who came up with what. It's about how good is the song.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you're doing that, if you're like checks and balances, you're like competing, then it doesn't go anywhere. It comes back to energy, which was right back to the beginning. Why I choose producers because of energy.
That full circle.
Exactly.
One thing that Anthony does really well when I started with Anthony was that where he was very receptive to, you know, like I looked up to Anthony. He had been working here longer at Orange than I had, and but he was very open to my ideas as well. Where I'll give one example. Like we had a female rapper here, and you know, I was like, what if we grab like a sound effects of jail bars closing? And he's like, yo, that's a sick idea, right? And so we found a file, or actually I found the file, sent it over to him, and both of them were happy. And it was like my second or third session with them. And, you know, so it was great having someone like that, Anthony, who was open, like to like what you were saying, who was open to the feedback from someone who had less experience than him.
Shout out Anthony, by the way.
Shout out Anthony, episode 3. One thing that Anthony says about the whole ego thing is that being an artist, you need to have a bit of an ego to, I don't know, like
this is a very common belief.
Yeah.
I've heard this a lot.
He says you have to have a bit of an ego to be an artist. And I believe that because that ego can lend confidence when you do walk into the room.
Sure. Maybe.
It
it's an interesting...
translates.
Sorry, go ahead.
It kind of also like translates, because like the ego in a sense kind of like if treated the right way kind of acts as like a form of confidence. And like for listeners like listening to it, like you hear it when, even as us engineers while we're recording or like producing or anything like that, when a person speaks, you can just tell like the confidence. Like, I know you know your shit about business and about music and everything like that because of the confidence you portray when you're speaking.
Yeah.
And it's like, while it's kind of a sense of an ego, it's kind of different, you know what I mean? Type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like having that sort of translation in your music and how you carry yourself. Like you can, when an artist walks in the room, you know, oh, that's the artist and those are the producers.
Yeah.
I think that this is an interesting topic for me because I have a lot of thoughts on this, but mainly they derive from the question of what is ego and how do you define it?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people will define ego as cockiness generally, or like in that sort of way, arrogance, cockiness, this sort of boastfulness, this, they big up themselves in their minds type of feeling, right? That's how people define ego. I'm very egotistical. I'm very high on my shit. I'm very like, that's ego in a lot of people's minds. And it's kind of what I think you might be describing, or it's what sounds like you're describing. And, it lends itself to confidence, or it can look like confidence maybe, or it can create a false sense of confidence, or at least enough for someone to look your way, and that's ego. Yeah. And I don't define ego that way. So that's why I think this is a question of definition. So I agree with what you're saying in a sense, if that was how you would to define ego, I think sort of. But I define ego, and there's another school of thought. It's not just me, another group of people who would define ego as being the mask that you wear, that you portray to the world.
That's what I believe. Yeah.
And so I would 100% agree that artists have a mask that they wear. And most of them are incapable of differentiating themselves from that mask. And that's why you see this. So the mask being the version of yourself, the character that you have created, that you believe that the world wants you to be, or that you personally want to be, but is not necessarily the truth about who you are. So egos can be super boastful. What they're really doing is masking the true person behind them. Egos can also be the opposite of that. They can be timid, and they can be afraid, and they can be super nice as an ego, as a mask that the world expects you to be nice and sweet, and even though you're not, but you put on this mask. And so that's how I define ego. So yes, I agree that most artists would have an ego in the sense they have that mask, right? They have that character that they play, and they either can or they can't differentiate. In most of them, in most cases, they can't, because they've, become that person. And so they think that that's how they have to be. And that's like, and this is just people, this is not artists, right? And so yes, that mask can say lend themselves to confidence, but it's not real confidence. It's false. It's entirely false, because confidence cannot be based around what someone else thinks of you, because true confidence can't be taken away from you. No one is going to take away my confidence in my singing ability. Yes. And no one is going to take away my confidence and understanding of business and business, whatever. Not one person in the entire world could take that away. No one could say to me, you suck at singing. And I'd be like, oh my God, my confidence.
Yeah.
100%.
Never. And it's because my confidence is not rooted in that, because true confidence can't be, because it's not a part of my ego. My ego is in, me thinking that I have to be perfect all the time. That is my ego, right? Like that's my mask. That's my thing that I do. And that's part of my, like how I hide, right, from the world. Let's say how you hide your insecurities or vulnerabilities. And mine are all surrounding perfectionism, but I'm aware of mine. Most people just aren't, right? And so that's why I say that it's like, I can totally see the conversation going, why ego lends itself to what looks like confidence, but you could break them in an instant by destroying their ego, and it's all over. So it's not confidence. It's just this this character that they're playing. And that's not art. That's not just artists. It's people, but you just see it a lot with artists. Yeah. Because it's like extra heightened, and I've heard a lot of producers mention that, and they've come to that exact conclusion through working with artists over and over and over again, and being in that situation with these people and being like, oh, they all have an ego. They have to. They have to, because that's their character. And I don't necessarily disagree. I would define it maybe in that way.
And
that makes sense.
I like where you took that. There was some gems in there too.
Some moments. But confidence is like one of those things I think I could talk about for like ever, just because I've had so many people be like, will talk to me about confidence specifically, and like be like, okay, someone will say, I'll say, where do you get your confidence from? And they'll say, I get my confidence from the fact that I'm pretty, or the fact that I'm funny, or the fact that I'm this, or the fact that I'm that, or like people think I'm funny. It's usually like that. People think I'm pretty. People think I'm funny. I get a lot of confidence from when I put a video up and I get a bunch of likes on my video, and that gives me confidence. And it's like, it doesn't though. that's not real. Because if it can be taken away, it's not real, right? And if your confidence is completely derived from outside sources,
yes,
from likes on Instagram, from other people thinking that you are pretty, or from other people thinking that you're smart,
it has to be internal.
that can be taken away at any minute. So that's not like real confidence. What you're really striving for, if you're like, I want to be a more confident person, what you're really striving for is like self-love, and not just self-love, but high self-worth. And when you have a high sense of self-worth, then you have real, true confidence, because it comes your internal source. So
what are some other ways outside of music where you've built that confidence up?
Failure.
It's just experience.
Like failure, experience, and understanding one thing is that really, truly understanding that you deserve everything that you want and everything that you want to have if you work for it. You deserve to have it, and you deserve to be loved, and you deserve to be anything and all of these things simply because you exist, and not for any other reason. That's it. You exist, therefore. And that's it. Like, no one, you know what I mean? It's like idea that you don't deserve love, or you don't deserve happiness, or you don't deserve these things, confidence, you don't deserve any of this. That's where self-worth comes from, is you feeling like you deserve to be heard, you deserve to be listened to, you deserve to have a voice, you deserve to be on a stage, you deserve to be in a room, you deserve to have these things. That's where self-worth comes from, right? Like, because if you feel like you're not good enough for those things, it's because you don't value yourself. And where does your value come from? Well, really, the fact that you exist is enough to have value. Anyway, that's where I go.
Interesting.
What do you think?
Interesting. I have this other thought where what I am going through and experiencing right now, I deserve, and is the outcome of the things that I've done in the past.
Absolutely.
So if I'm not happy with the current situation that I'm in, I know it's because I did not do the work to be in the position that I want to be. So do you know what I mean?
That you wanted to be in that moment.
Yeah, and there's so much power in that, right?
Yeah.
Because people think if you believe that your life happens to you, then you have no control over it.
And that I disagree with that.
But if you believe in what you just said,
yes, and that's why I believe what I believe, is because
then you have control over it.
Exactly, because people think that in the snap of a fingers they're going to be this overnight success, and that just does not happen. It takes this. I believe self-confidence comes from determination and grit and
100%.
Forcing yourself
and failure.
Being like,
and succeeding from failure,
exactly.
Learning from dying, like from putting yourself out there,
exactly.
You know, and realizing no one can tear you down.
Exactly, and I see that a lot in you, and just the way that you walk into a room, and it's just like this big ball of energy, and it's genuine, and it's also like,
oh, thanks.
Yeah,
but I'm like, hey, I'm here, guys.
But like, you're very intelligent and well spoken too, and I think that just comes from experience and failure
yeah, and realizing that like I remember one time I did a live performance at the X, actually at the CNE. Oh. I did a performance at the CNE, and it was a competition. I think it was a competition, I can't remember, and I was so like nervous beforehand, but my nerves play out in that they work for me, so they make me, it feels like I get a ton of energy. It feels like a crazy adrenaline boost, and then all of a sudden I'm like I'm right in the forefront of my brain. Like everything I want to say, I can say, and I think, and I can remember everything and anything I want. Like I mostly like become in this, so I and I become funny all of a sudden. I'm like a joke. It's crazy. So I asked the guy who was like hosting the show, I told him, I was like, okay, can you introduce me as if you were introducing a boxer into a ring? So I want you to say, and next we have Megan Massey, standing 5'2", weighing in at 110 pounds. It's Megan Massey. Wow. And I like did the whole thing. He was like, okay. And he did it. He totally did it. And so anyway, I came out and everybody was all excited because I just had this crazy, introduction.
Which I'm putting reverb on, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It was amazing. And everyone's all excited. And I'm like, yeah. And then I go to do my performance and my voice cracked. I hadn't practiced enough. And so I went to hit this high note and I didn't do it correctly. I didn't give it enough air. And then so I couldn't hit it. And then I just like broke over and I was like, And I was so embarrassed about it to a degree. And I just was like, okay, whatever, just keep going. And then at the end, he asked me, he was like, oh, so who's your singing teacher? And I said, I said Patti LaBelle. And for those of you who don't know, I might as well have said Aretha Franklin is my singing teacher, because Patti LaBelle, she's Lady Marmalade, like Lady Marmalade, like huge, massive singer. Like I might as well have said Lady Gaga, for fuck's sake, was my singing teacher. And I was just like, oh my God. And I didn't like hear it. And and then I couldn't remember. And I was so embarrassed. It was just like the worst possible situation. Right.
Yeah.
But then it didn't break. But then I was like, okay, well, that was, shitty. But what happened after? Nothing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay, now what? Let's get back in the,
just try not to let it
practice
happen
it again. Like, okay, now I know what I need to do. Like, I had this horrible thing. It was my biggest fear, and it had come true, and it was not that scary.
Wow.
It was like nothing. Like, it was like, why was I so afraid of that? And that's what happens when you try, when you put yourself out there, and then you realize you're like, oh, my confidence actually doesn't come from this. It comes from the fact that I know that I can get up and get right back into it again the next time. And that was,
And if I fail, it's not the end of the world.
It's not the end of the world.
It's the bounce back.
It's the bounce back.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, what's one piece of advice you would give to an upcoming artist or human being?
One piece of advice for an upcoming artist. Oh, it's tough, right? Like, I think actually I someone else asked me this, and maybe I'll give a different piece of advice, because I think one of the pieces of advice is pretty obvious, and it's what I said on the last podcast I was on, where he asked me that same question. I said, believe in yourself, be confident, find the confidence, because no one else is going to do it for you. But I feel like we've fucking hammered that one home. Hey,
100%.
I would say work on your craft. Like as an artist, if you want to be an artist, if you want to be a performer, a songwriter, a singer, work on your craft. So if you are like, I'm going to be a singer, take singing lessons.
Yeah.
And not just one kind. Like, try different types. Take technique lessons. Learn how to sing. Learn how to use your voice as an instrument. If you want to be a rapper, if you are a rapper, learn every word you can read books.
Read the dictionary.
Read Shakespeare. Read all of the books that you can read and learn all of the words. And then also learn rhythms and poetry, because the rhythm side of the rapping is, that's part of the bread and butter. So learn your rhythms. If you are a recording artist, practice different voices. If you're a rapper as a recording artist, practice different voices, different places in years. Try everything and everything that you can, anything and everything you can that will develop your craft, and however you can do that. If you're a producer, try to learn as many instruments as possible. If you're like, instruments are not going to be my thing, at least learn theory, learn a couple different DAWs. Learn a couple different DAWs. You never know when that is going to come in handy. It's always going to come in handy, because just work at your craft. If you're a songwriter, work at your craft. Don't just let a song be done because you said it's done. Is it done? Are there better words that you can use? Or can you erase? Can you take away words and still say the same thing? Because if you can, then you should. Just work at your craft. That's probably what I would. If I can only give one piece of advice, work at your craft.
This whole episode was just all kinds of advice. So
that's how it should be. And it's not necessarily being like, hey, me telling you this, but people should be able to find advice hidden inside of stories and inside of life experiences. And that's the whole.
Exactly. I was just about to say that.
That's what it is, right? That's the beauty about podcasts and beauty about listening to other people's. And that's why reading is amazing. Reading memoirs and watching movies, and we learn from everything.
Exactly.
And take it from that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So where can people find you on social media if they want to connect with you?
Yeah.
Plug yourself.
Plug myself. This is the part I'm like the worst at. Standing in that fun. No, I'm just
I'm gonna put it back there with the reverb and everything.
I'm on, this obscure social media account called Instagram. You probably haven't heard of it. It's not that big. It's Megan Massey X. Same thing on another one that, unlikely you've heard of. TikTok. It's called Megan Massey X. On YouTube, just YouTube, my name. I was going to say just Google my name, but like you don't Google on your name on YouTube. On YouTube, I'm putting up a vlog a week. You can find me on there, Megan Massey.
Follow her journey.
Follow the journey, Megan Massey on Spotify and probably all the other ones, Apple Music and Deezer.
Wherever you listen to music.
Wherever you listen to music, just the name is Megan Massey, like Massey Hall, and it's Megan, Megan, and you're looking for a picture that looks blue and there's a lollipop involved. Have fun.
Dope. And I am found at @1Mamic on basically everything.
And this is _Gravy Mixes. And thanks for coming on, Meg.
And that's the Behind the Sounds podcast.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys. That was great.
Peace.
Boom.
The Behind the Sound podcast was recorded at the Orange Lounge Recording Studio, located downtown Toronto.